What's up, everyone? So today I'm gonna go over my updated Mage best in slot gear for Ashes of Creation. I released one a few months ago at the beginning of the phase, but since the meta shifted a little bit, I decided to update my gear list based on some of the stuff that I found out while playing the game. There's a few things in the meta that have shifted a little bit for mages specifically. I think one of the biggest ones is that HP scaling on mages doesn't seem to be as effective as you would think, just because our kit doesn't really work with HP scaling because we just don't have enough defensive abilities or sustain abilities or escape abilities to live, even if we had a large HP pool. So I'm kind of trying out a more glass cannon build with more power, not as much HP, but high crit, high speed, high power, just to try to deal as much damage as possible. In the past couple of weeks, I found that build is viable in this meta, as long as you play with the understanding that you don't have the same amount of HP as some of the others. So I'm just going to go over my list of what I think is the best in slot in each slot. I'll just start out with armor. In my opinion, I think we're still looking to go into 5-piece light for the bonus, so we can get the magic defense and just kind of hedge more towards those fights against the bards and the mages, clerics, summoners, because that's those are the fights that we should win. Also, going for the force bonus for the most intelligence, more power, better. Best place to start, just start from the top going down. I think Cognizant 5-piece is our best option. It gives us the most power stats, while giving us that light and force bonus. And then when you look at the set piece bonus for it, the Siphon, it just grants that 10% chance to deal a little bit more damage on top of giving you a little bit of healing for the same amount. When tested on PTR, I was getting Siphon procs to hit with the Abundant Siphon every 30 seconds for around 12 to 1500, and when you throw that on top of any of your abilities, it's just really strong. I don't mind the randomness of it, because anytime you can dish out an additional 1500 damage, love it. It's fantastic. So for headpiece, I'm looking at going Cognizant head. Chest piece, I'm looking at going Cognizant chest piece. It's a really good piece. These are just like two really high power, pieces. They give the wisdom, the 4-piece intelligence bonus. It's just an all-around good set. Shoulders, there really isn't a fantastic option for shoulders, but for the set bonus, we're just going to go with Cognizant again. They are really high constitution roll. Disable evasion's not a meaningless stat. It is defensive, so it helps. The healing power is the only part of this gear that really has no use for mages right now. But the crit power, also good. And then for bracers and hands, we're going to go a little bit different. For bracers and hand, I think the best pieces are the Sand Bastion. The Sand Bastion pieces. The bracers, they're also force pieces, so those will count towards your force bonus as well. But if we take a look at these, the stats don't look great on these, but as far as bracers go, 132 just raw power, 27 intelligence, which that equates to 3 power each intelligence, so about almost 90 more power on that. So 220 power on your bracers, plus a little bit more wisdom, also 1-to-1 for power, and it also gives you crit as well. So this piece alone is looking at about 250 more magic power, on top of being a heavy piece, which kind of hedges a little bit more towards the physical defense. And we're actually going to go 3 pieces of the Sand Bastion gear, with the bracers, the gauntlets, which are, I think, the best gloves for mages. There is a case to be made for your Rosethorn pieces, which are more centered around split defense, like magic defense and phys defense, while also having like good offensive, but I think these are just much better with the crit chance, the wisdom, and the magic power. The gauntlets are giving you, you know, over 400 magic power just on their raw stats alone. And then if we look at our rings, I actually have one already, but I think Karfin Alumnus Ring is by far the best offensive ring you can get. Just with the raw stats on it, the magic power, speed, and intelligence, it's just one of those. It's one of those items that it's just a key piece of the mage kit, in my opinion. I would actually go for 2 of these. If you wanted to go a little bit more defensive for any reason, you could look at going Petal Shard for the max HP and crit defense, and you could also look into Tide Rot rings. They're a little bit more expensive to craft, but as far as the defense, max HP, and con roll goes, this is probably the best defensive ring that you're going to find. So if you feel like you're not able to keep yourself alive in the glass cannon build, you need a little bit more survivability, you can craft a couple of these to keep in your inventory just in case you need them. So I would go, personally, I'm going to go for 2 Karfin rings, but I think I am going to craft a Tide Rot ring just in case for some of those more like some of those fights where you think you need a little bit more HP. As far as cape goes, Scald Plate Cape, which I already have one, I think it's just the best option. There are capes out there that have a little bit more power, a little bit more magic stats, but Scald Plate Cape with the max HP roll, which we're already lacking on a little bit, so that helps there. Magic power, magic speed, wisdom, 3 key stats. Best cape in the game for mages. I don't think there's any other option there. Neck piece, which I already have a Petal Shard. Again, it's just the highest power roll on a neck piece right now that we have, and it also has max HP, crit, power, and crit chance. So 3 offensive stats, really good defensive stat. So I think this is really pretty much the only option for neck pieces. Earrings is where things get a little bit weird. We have a lot of different options for earrings. You could just go the cheaper route and the simpler route and go for Petal Shard for the high power, high crit chance, high crit power, and also that feeds into your set bonus, so it'll give you a little bit more HP. But there are, I think, better options individually than Petal Shard if you want to get away from the set piece. So I think there's 3 really good earrings to use. My first choice for defensive side of things is Foam Cast. It's very easy to craft, so it's a really good starter piece, and it'll last you a long time. It gives you that fizz defense, raw defense, and max HP and magic crit defense. And with how many people like mages are building power, I think that the crit defense is actually a pretty reasonable stat as far as defensive goes. This earring is really easy to craft. That's kind of the best thing going for it, so you can craft it at a really high rarity. If you want to go more for the offensive side of things, I think the only option is Whispered Thoughts. It's just, again, one of those one of those items that just has 4 really good magic stats: magic power, magic speed, magic crit chance, plus the wisdom. You get this high rarity, and it's just a really, really powerful piece. Your Petal Shard earrings do have more power, but I think these giving you the crit chance and the magic speed is, I think, worthwhile. Anytime you can get your Frost Bolts or your Lightning Strikes or even your Ball Lightning cast times down, it's just really going to help your overall DPS, and even will help your survivability because you can go in, use your abilities faster, and get out. As far as like your second earring goes, Tide Rot, again, as you can tell, I mean, this is a defensive set piece. Tide Rot earring is probably the best in slot as far as defensive earring goes. When we're getting a little bit more towards the end game, I would definitely think about crafting at least one of these, at least one of each of these, so that you have them as swaps for if you're not able to survive in those fights that you need to. Where are we at? Belt. Unfortunately, we don't really have a very good belt for mages as far as just like raw power stats. So for set reasons, I think Cognizant is just the best option. It does give you some con, a little bit of power. I mean, it's not a lot. It's only like 50 or so power at uncommon. But the Constitution and Evasion plus the set bonus, that's the way to go there. And then as far as pants, we're going to get our third piece of Sand Bastion gear with a Sand Bastion Greaves. These pants, I think, are the best magic piece of armor in the game for mages. It's insane. Like, just the stats on it with 252 magic power, 168 power at common. I mean, this piece alone, we're looking at 400 and, almost 420 power, magic power. It's an absurd piece. These you want to try to roll up to the highest rarity you can. It's not extremely easy, just because, Day Strider Leather, Lithium, Sand Bastion Emblem's kind of hard to come across. But this is a piece that every mage should be going for no matter what, I think. When you couple the raw stats on it with the strike bonus, which we will have from having Sand Bastion Bracers, Gauntlets, and Pants, it's just another 10% chance to deal 200% lightning damage on your ability. So on PTR testing with this, I was seeing crits around 1600 with full legendary gear. So again, it's just another instance of extra damage that you can pile on. It's just like insane. Like I think having the strike siphon combo for a glass cannon build is the best option. And then we're moving on to boots, which again, there's a couple different boots that we can use, but when you're coupling like the set bonuses, when you're adding in the set bonus options, Cognizant is the way to go here. 209 wisdom, 21 intelligence. So there's your magic power rolls on your boots. Disable defense, disable accuracy. Not very powerful stats, but again, we're looking more for the set bonus than the individual stats. If you're really looking for like an individual piece, Varric Silk Slippers is probably the best option for boots. It's just the highest wisdom roll. Also max HP and magic speed and crit chance. So again, 4 main stats. These are probably the like best in slot items individually. But as far as best in slot end game full set of gear, you want to go for the set bonuses on the Cognizant to really like maximize DPS there. And now for the weapons. As far as melee weapons, there's really only 2 options in my opinion. The first one we're going to look at is the Mirageborn Sandrot Great Mace. It is only level I-26 item, but this mace has the highest power roll of any melee weapon for casters. It does have lower magic power than the I-level 29 items, but this mace, for the cost, you can craft it at Epic fairly reasonably. It's probably what 99% of mages are going to be using, and any magic DPS are going to be using for a very long time. I have a heroic one here already crafted, and just to show you, I'm sitting at 506 magic power right now. This mace alone gives me 140 magic power just in this mace alone. So crafted at Epic, and it'll last you probably the entire phase. The other option, which is what I'm kind of building for in the future, is the Dreadwake Undertow Great Mace. It's much harder to craft with the Junskosh, the Dragon Tree, a lot of zinc. But if you look at the stats on it, again, it's a higher magic power roll, magic speed, max HP, intelligence, crit chance. I think this is the best melee weapon in the game for casters right now. Overall, just because of the max HP roll and the high power roll and the magic speed. This is kind of the last piece of gear that I'm going to look for, but it's definitely the best melee weapon for my build. And the fun part that I get more questions on than anything else is ranged weapon. So there's a lot of different options that we have as mages when it comes to ranged weapons, between wands, books, bows, short bows. All of them are pretty viable. In my opinion, longbow is the only way to go. It has the highest power rolls on it. It has the best skill tree for PvP, and I just like the way it plays better than any of the other weapons. So there's basically 4 options we have at longbow, and I don't think any of them are necessarily better or worse. It just really depends on how you want to play. Cost effectiveness, I think the best option is the Night Reaver Gloomstring longbow. It has the highest, or almost the highest, power roll of any of the longbows in the current phase. Not the highest magic power roll, but the highest individual power roll here, with 548 at common, and it's also much easier to craft. You only need 2 cacao, 612 coconut, and then 9 birds of paradise, and 9 dragon tree. So really easy to actually craft, and it's not that difficult to get at a high rarity. Cost effectiveness and just raw stats, a lot of mages are going to be using the Night Reaver Gloomstring until we start to push into eye level 29 bows, which eye level 29 bows, we have 3 options. The first one is Thornstrike Stonebound. This one probably has the best overall offensive stats on it. All 5 stats on it, int, power, magic crit, wisdom, just scream offensive bow. So if you're really, really trying to lean as far into offensive as you possibly can, Thornstrike Stonebound, really, really good option. Probably the best offensive bow. On the other side of things, you have Dreadwake Undertow longbow, which, if you remember the mace, it's kind of going to be similar. You're looking at crit chance, magic speed, max HP. So this kind of trades out that power for max HP if you want to lean that way. Also, really good option. And then there's kind of like the middle ground, which is the Stormcurrent. So Stormcurrent actually this is the bow that has the absolute highest power roll of any of the longbows. It's slightly higher power roll than the Night Reaver, which is kind of surprising. I thought it would be a little bit higher, but it does have the higher magic power roll, so it is going to be overall more power stat for you, which is the main stat we're after. The only problem with all 3 of these eye level 29 bows is just the crafting input. I mean, we're talking about over 1,000 plumeria, or over 1,000 wood. We're looking at 40 birds of paradise, or 40 moonbell bolts, and 60 starfish, and 15 cacao here. So the stat input, or the raw material input for crafting these eye level 29s, it's just, I just don't think it's worth the time investment right now, because like I said, if you craft a Night Reaver at Epic, like this one for example, this bow is better than every eye level 29 bow, unless that eye level 29 bow is crafted at Epic or higher. So in my opinion, for this phase, I think most people should be going for the Night Reaver Gloomstring longbow. But for those people who really, really want to try to push and go for that best in slot, any 3 of the eye level 29 bows are best in slot. They're, all of them are equally as good. You're not going to lose too many stats going one way or the other. And it's really awesome that we have options for raw power, raw offensive stats, and a more defensive side. So, yeah, those are my opinion. Probably the best in slot mage gear for this phase, if you're going for a more glass cannon build. So there are defensive options that are in there, but for what I'm doing, how I'm playing, going for that raw glass cannon build, I think those are the best in slot pieces. So yeah, good luck on getting all that gear. It's kind of a grind, but if you like the content, like the guides, hit that like and subscribe button. Um, you know, I'll see you out there.